Alright, I have a 2012 Ford Escape, and I'm going to show you the steps that it took to get the evaporator core out of the box, which is behind the dash. So I had to take the top cover off of the shifting assembly, and then I had to take the bolts out across the top of the shifter, and then the bolts on the sides. There should be 3 in the front. On each side there's going to be the 3 across the top, 1, 2, 3, and there will be 2 10mm in the back, on the back side, each side. And when that's done, you can unplug this plug right here, and then you slide this whole thing back out of the way. Once you get that slid out of the way, you're going to remove the plastics that cover these here on the back side, on both sides. You will unplug this plug, this plug, this plug, this plug, and this plug. Make sure you unhook your battery before you unplug, all these plugs. And then you'll also have these 3 plugs, which will have to be unplugged from the wiring harness. You'll see them right under the shifting area. I know it's sideways, but when it comes to taking out the steering wheel and the steering column, you're going to take the 3 bolts from underneath the plastics and pop that all the way off. All the plastics will come off. There's a bolt here and a bolt here. They're going to be T40 Torx bits. Once you, before you remove those, you want to unplug all the plugs that go to all the modules around the steering wheel and the harness. They'll be easily accessible. And then underneath, you'll also have to unplug this, only this one, from the motor itself. So you'll see for your electric power steering, there's a big box under here at the back. This is the only plug you'll have to unplug from that right away to get the dash out. And then when you remove these 2 bolts, you can grab the whole steering column and everything. Make sure your tires are straight and the steering wheel is straight before you do this. And you want to pull the steering wheel straight off. It'll come off all as one piece. I got all the plastics just sitting in the back at the moment. This piece just literally pulls right off. You can be careful around the edge, and you can pry it off with a flat screwdriver or a trim tool. There's 1 plug on it right there that will have to be unplugged. This is what you'll have with the steering wheel, if I can get to it. It's steering column. Try not to let this spin crazily. When you put it back on, just make sure your steering wheel is straight and these splines will line up with the splines. That's what the box looks like. Let me get a better shot of that. Alright. The box, they'll have 1 bolt coming out this. See if I can see it. Down here where this top side is. If I can find, there's the hole. There's one really long bolt that goes through into the metal frame of the dash. You just have to take that 1 bolt out. I think it's a 13. Now, after you do that, there is these 2 bolts here. They're going to look like these. You'll have the 2 bolts here. You'll have the same 2 bolts on the other side. And then where your center computer is, where those plugs come out, these are going to be, there's 2 of them that go into that. Here are the other 2 that go into that, and then these 2 go into those loose plugs in that harness. Alright, and then you'll have to take your center shifter assembly out, which is 4 bolts around the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. To get it out, you're also going to have to, see if I can get a good view on it. There's little clips here on the side. You're going to have to pop those up so that you can lift this piece up. It'll slide all the way up. Once there, you can use a flat screwdriver right here. You'll see that is where the bushing on the end of this cable, this will just be snapped onto there. You're just going to pop that bushing off. On the inside, you'll also have to disconnect the antenna wire for the radio antenna, and then there should be a smaller one if you have the Sirius XM radio. Alright, once you get those 6 out on the inside, you're going to have to go under the hood and let's see if I can pop the hood real quick. So once you get under the hood, you're gonna have to remove your 3 bolts and unplug and take out your windshield wiper assembly. I pulled my computer as well, just to make sure there was no bolts behind it. You don't have to pull the computer, you can leave that alone. There's gonna be 2 bolt holes, or 2 bolts under here that are going into that metal frame of the dash. And then there's going to be another one right back there. Once you unhook all of that, you're gonna be able to lean the dash forward, and you'll be able to unhook anything else that you see that's hooked up, but plug wise that should be all there is. You should be able to lean it forward and then slide it out. You don't have to take off the radio, you don't have to undo the airbag, you don't have to undo any of the center stuff, just this stuff right here in the front. And the reason I took the instrument cluster out, which you do not have to do, the reason I took it out was so that I could see, if you look through this hole, you can see the head of that bolt on the motor for the steering box that's left in there, that big long one. You'll be able to see it and actually get to it to work on it. Once this is out, you'll have this HVAC box standing behind it. Now, before you unhook this, you need to have no refrigerant in your system, and you'll unhook where your AC lines go into the system right here. You'll unhook that, and you'll have to unhook the 2 heater hoses, which I just got pulled off to the side. It's high enough up in the system where you're not going to lose a lot of coolant. You're not going to lose a lot of antifreeze, but you're going to want to have that tied up out of the way as well. And once you unhook those, you can take the 6 or 7. There's going to be 6 of these 10mm nuts going around the HVAC box, and once you pull those out, you can just kind of shimmy wiggle it free, and you have to kind of pull sideways because otherwise it'll get caught on those floor vents where it goes in under the floor. But once you shimmy and wiggle that free, you can get that out of there, and show you what to do once that's apart. Now, once this is out, you're going to take all these 10mm screws out. There's not a ton of them. It's just going to be these. And you're going to take out just the ones on this middle seam all the way around. Now, once those are out, it still is not going to come apart like easily, because I think they want you to replace this whole box instead of being able to replace that part. So they melt the plastic and kind of plastic weld this thing together, this whole center section. I put 1 bolt back in it to kind of keep it together for now. You're going to want to take a flat screwdriver that you can hammer on, essentially, and you're going to work it into those gaps until it pops that welded plastic hole open. You will be able to re-secure it with the screws once it's all back together, so that's not a huge deal. But that's the only way you're going to get out your heater core, or your evaporator core, excuse me. And your heater core is also in that box. But once you get your evaporator core out, you can see mine, all the freon has soaked into the foam. You can smell freon when you turn it on, and if I flip it over, you can see the dye from the where it was leaking freon. So, and it's actually wet all through here. But once that's done, I'll probably make a video in reverse order of putting it back together. Hope this helps anybody out there. This definitely wasn't a video out that I could find when I was doing this. So, again, it's a 2012 Ford Escape, doing the evaporator core in it. I hope this helps somebody, and it's not perfect. I may have missed a few little small steps here and there. I'm not a professional at making videos by any means, but again, I hope this helps somebody.